What's up, everyone? Today is a sunny and 70 day, as you can tell. I think our average temperature right now is between like 5 and 6 degrees, so she's a bit chilly. But unfortunately, we have a lot of parts just sitting for the past week at the USPS Regional Distribution Center. I don't know what's going on with that. So we can't slow down, we can't stop. We need to keep working on the 81 Dodge Ram and the 46 drift truck. So today, well, the other day I got rid of the blue truck and we got a second parts truck. Now this one right here, unfortunately, remember the other heads were completely rotted, and which I've never seen anything like that in my life. But these heads look like they're actually in pretty good shape. I don't see any indication that the wreck damaged them. Now I am worried about the block itself, but you know, we're not planning on using that, so you know, it is what it is. But so far, as far as I can tell, there's nothing in the oil other than it looks like it needs an oil change that really gives me pause for alarm. It's got 134,000 miles on it, which is quite a bit, but you know, I don't think that's really going to be an issue. Now, I originally wanted to have them pull the engine and transmission so that we would have a transmission, but you know, it is what it is. It's actually a little bit more convenient this way. We have a lot more electronics. This way we can get everything in one piece. The big issue, of course, when you get it from a salvage yard for as cheap as I bought this whole truck, they generally just cut the wiring harnesses, and you know, this has got the wiring harness and everything we need for the automatic transmission. So I think this is actually a win-win, other than it's pretty cold out. So what do we have to do now? Well, we got to remove the front end of this thing and just stuff it in the back for now. When I'm done, we've already negotiated that this thing will be gone whenever I'm set. So this is great. It makes it so I don't have this thing kicking around the house indefinitely. The drivetrain is complete. They did cut the cats out, which makes sense to me. I almost bought the whole thing for the price of the cat, so I'm not upset about that at all. Anyways, let's go ahead, tear this apart. We'll check to see if the block is all right. Maybe it'll turn into a coffee table, or maybe we'll use it in a project down the road. But for now, I'm more worried about the transmission and the heads. Also, it looks like the intake is a lot cleaner on this than the other one, so we'll probably end up just using this one as well. It's fine. I like to save myself some time and cleaning up things. We'll get them prepped for paint and get this prepped for polish. All right, guys, let's get to work. Well, guys, round one goes to this guy. Oh my God, I just cut her off. Just a quick little zip here, quick little zip through there, cut the frames. The frames don't look like they were, no, I guess that one looks like she's a little bit twisted right there, but it doesn't look like it goes past the cross member. So I'm assuming that, you know, it didn't crack the block. But a few things now, if you're looking at front end damaged cars, you got to be very, very cautious. And this is the reason why. There's a lot of things that could definitely be hurt. Look at the alternator here. So not only is the frame kind of twisted a little bit, which you could pull it in theory, but you know, your alternator really, this one took a hit. This one took a real bad hit. The clutch fan is twisted a bit. Now I don't know exactly if it's just the shaft. It's probably the water pump, which means that the oil pump timing cover, which is very expensive on this engine, is probably junk. I can't tell. I'm going to take the clutch fan off, get a little bit better read on the harmonic balancer on here, see if it's we'll see if it's twisted or not. If it's twisted at all, then you know the crank's done. It also means it took a solid hit that could have translated into the transmission, so we'll have to inspect the transmission as well. But it doesn't look too bad. I think the biggest issue right now is this right here has to get pulled off, and you can kind of see that the actual, there we go, you can see that kind of bent a little, so it's concerning. You know, I'm glad we went with a different engine and didn't just use this guy, because the block is probably junk. But you know, if we can pull the heads off of this alone, it's going to be saving us money instead of buying replacement heads. I spent less money on this whole truck than I did for just one replacement head. So worst case scenario, I still call this a victory. But we'll inspect the transmission after we get this all apart and get the heads off of it today. So all right, back to work, guys. Actually, I'm gonna have some coffee and then back to work. So this thing was driving when it was parked. Very abruptly parked, but so I'm curious to see if this thing will even turn over based off of, you know, the damage that it's been dealt. So we'll try to crank her. You can see that this thing is a little bit up. I don't know if that's translated through or not, but it's a real basic crank over test, and if it does try crank, we'll hook the battery up to it and see what happens. So we'll use a little tripod today. Oh yeah, freely. She spins freely. All right, that's a good sign, guys. So I guess this would be the ultimate cold start for a Gen 2. 10 years sitting. I'd be surprised if there's any gas in it or anything. I don't know. We'll see. Piece of junk. Nah, she won't start, but she does spin fairly nicely. I'll have to review the video and see if the crank was spinning a little odd or what was going on. I don't know if there's, we'll see. I don't know if there's fog on the lens or what's going on, but that's good. Also, you can see the slush sitting in the bottom of that water. So actually, I'm very surprised that this is not boogered up. Very surprised. I was expecting this to be pretty rough, but we'll go ahead and dismantle everything up here and we'll be right back. If you're interested in pulling this apart, I do have a video of me pulling the actual engine apart on the engine stand. It's pretty much gonna be the same way, except for, you know, having to reach underneath the cowl a bit. This one we will save the air cleaner on this. Not that I expect to use it, but you know, tee-hee giggles and all. So there are a few things about this particular situation that is a bit frustrating. I absolutely love this engine, but I do have one critique. Maybe a few less variations of, you know, bolt sizes would be a very awesome thing. Two, use something like no locks or, you know, some silver bearing, something to prevent the bolts from seizing to the, you know, steel bolt inside of a cast aluminum. You know, they like to seize up. But one thing that frustrates me, and this is not the people that design the engine's issue, it's whoever decided to stuff the engine block like a third of the way inside the actual underneath the cowl. It's boy, is it frustrating trying to get parts and pieces out of there. And we do have one broken bolt right through here that holds the manifold on, so I bet that's going to give me a bit of a hard time to that out of there. Seeing how she sheared about, I'd say, an inch down, and they're, yeah, I don't know what the heck's going to happen with that, but drastically less rusty. So hopefully the bolts going down come out a little bit easier. I know it's very cold out. I'll probably have to use a little bit of heat to kind of egg them through, but worst case scenario, we'll bring them in and take the headers or the manifolds off inside, you know, add a little bit of weight to the whole thing, I suppose. All right, let's get the rest of this off. But yeah, less bolt variation would have been pretty sweet. Well guys, we're gonna pick it up in the morning. We'll kind of show you a little better what's going on. I want to kind of clean up the heads a little bit tonight, but not bad for a day's work. Heads all apart. Rich,
what's up, guys?
Helped out a lot.
It's cold out.
It is very cold out. So I don't know how many hours it's been, but it's been too many. All right guys, we'll see you in the AM. Well guys, today is a warmer day. Not by a lot, by 10 degrees, so I'll take it though. At 16 degrees, it's morning time, it's still substantially warmer than yesterday. We have to get these intake manifolds in, cleaned up, this prepped for paint, that prepped for polish, and we are going to be bluing that. You'll see what that is later. As you can see, this finish coming apart quite a bit. But interesting thing I've noticed, reason why that thing wouldn't even try to start, it was cranking, probably had no fuel, but regardless, it wouldn't have started because this thing is completely sealed up. Interesting thing from this one is this is an 02, I believe, and this is the original stock throttle body, where the other one must have been an aftermarket one because it says Holly on it. So I'll show you that in a little bit, but it seems like we have a better throttle body for the end product than I was actually expecting. So over here, I let the engine get a little dirty because with it being hit so hard, I'd want to rebuild this engine anyways, but most likely it's just going to end up being a conversation piece as a table. Yeah, that's the word. But we have, this side's not so bad, but on this side, is it this one of these has quite the ridge. That one right there, this one has a ridge, this one has a ridge. One of them you can hang your fingernail on, so you can actually see it from here. If you were to rebuild this engine, you'd want to at least get a really good hone, maybe go 5 over. But you know, like I said, coffee table. We are going to finish pulling this engine out. I'm happy to say that it looks, I looked at it a little bit more yesterday as I was dismantling it. It looks like that timing cover is not damaged, so we will save that. Worst case scenario, we'll go through it, clean it, and you know, we'll have it for a backup because those are expensive. Other than that, transmission has to come out. Let's see, and we'll go take a look at the heads in just a second. I haven't tried taking the spark plugs out, but only one of the studs broke off, so as opposed to I think 4 or 6 of them on the original heads. So I'm very pleased. That's less work for me to get those heads ready for being put back on. I will go through, replace some seals in it. Nothing really big. I think we're pretty much going to just run with it. They look good. They look pretty darn good, actually. So they just need to be cleaned. I definitely don't think they changed the oil nearly as much in this engine as they did the other engine. So it looks like this had the same issue with some power steering, though. This is still, see how well this was buried in the ground at the salvage yard. But let's look at that transmission. All right, so one cool thing is just look at how skookum that drive shaft is. No joke, definitely gonna hang on to that. That is a nice drive shaft. Never know what you're gonna use it for, but she's beefy. We have our transfer case sitting right here. Everything is pretty caked with mud and everything, but it looks solid. Doesn't look like it's broken. And we have our transmission sitting right there. And as far as I can tell, I don't see any substantial damage to it. She wasn't sitting too deep into it. We may have to get a new oil pan for it, but I'm not too overly concerned about that. I don't know how expensive they are, but I'm not too concerned. Before we get too far into getting rid of this, we got to get all the electrical out of it as well. Never know when you're going to need extras. But yeah, I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing. Both sides, I think we made out really well. Like I said, for the cost of just one head, I got the whole truck. If we get 2 heads out of it and the entire transmission setup, I'm gonna call it a win, a super win, like epic win. She got hit hard though, wow. Anyways, let's go take a look at the other heads, and later today I want to get that transmission out of there. Furnace is going because I have the garage open, had the extra garage open. We'll cover that in a second. Hey, Time and Chain came here finally. You know, it's about time. So we'll be able to get that one done pretty shortly. Heads are sent over here soaking because I don't want to repeat from the last one. They don't have all the scaling. They have a little bit of schmoo. We'll get those cleaned up and painted, assuming that, you know, spark plugs come out. And over here we have a super OSHA approved way of getting an engine pulled through the snow. So this is inside. I got to strip it down the transfer case is on the other side over there, and you know, this is unfortunately now in my way. But I'll bring the engine jack in, scooter, pull her up, and get the transmission dismounted from the actual block itself. And before you know it, we'll be able to start looking at the tail shafts. Now, I know a lot of people want me to convert my 81 Ram into a four-wheel drive, but I don't want it as a four-wheel drive. I want this one to be a two-wheel drive. The tail shaft for this thing, I found it on eBay for $84, so we'll call it $100, you know, what, depending on what shipping is. And we could sell the transfer case for substantially more. So we're going to go ahead and continue on the budget route with just getting rid of the four-wheel drive functionality of this transmission and converting it over to a two-wheel drive. Then we'll probably, like I said, probably turn this engine block into a good old-fashioned table, because that'll be neat. A V10 table. All right, guys, let me go ahead and finish cleaning up outside, get the engine jack back inside here so we can get this thing up, and probably tomorrow separate the two of those. And I got these are the old valve covers. I want to get the new valve cover, or the newer valve covers, in and start cleaning up this stuff so we can get this stuff painted and ready to go. So hey, little victories here and there, and you'll eventually get where you're aiming to go. We are still waiting on parts for the drift truck. We'll be getting back on that hopefully fairly shortly, and continue our just working on what we have parts for. But unfortunately, like I said, we hadn't had a lot of parts for anything. So all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Look forward to the timing chain and the actual finishing of the engine block, including, you know, when I put the core plugs back in and all that fun stuff will be up very shortly, now that we have the timing chain. I know that was redundant, but I'm very happy our parts are showing up. I don't know what was going on. Other than that, guys, it was a rough couple days trying to get this thing apart in such cold weather, but, you know, it'll slow me down, but it can't stop me. All right, have yourselves a wonderful day. Remember, keep your shiny side up, and God bless.